Hi guys, happy Monday. So, alright, Ouija Magical Boot Camp. This is just kind of a little more information on actually the divination. So, alright, both of you do cards. Both of you are doing the Ouija. So we're gonna do, we're just gonna focus on the cards right now, because this is very interesting to me. So, it's very, very neat. So, do you guys know what divination is? Okay, so, alright. Divination, let me see if I can actually find the meaning. So, it's throughout the tarot that you will find your secrets to everything that you want. And you will be able to predict anything that you do want with the tarot. And it's very, very amazing. So it says, basically, we are now concerned with revealing, or rather, revealing the great arcanum, the terrible secret, the secret of life and death expressed in the Bible by the formidable and symbolic speech of symbolic serpent itself. So, one of the privileges of the initiate to the Great Arcanum, and that which summarizes all the others, is that of divination. So, according to the vulgar meaning of this word, to divine signifies to conjecture about that which we do not know. But the real meaning of this word is ineffable, because it is sublime. So the divine, divinare, is to exclusively divinity. The word divinus in Latin signifies more, in something other than divus, and its meaning is equivalent to man, god. So, a subtle point of Latin grammar, divus. Divus is God, and it is belonging or relating to a deity. So, divination. This is very interesting. This is putting a different perspective on all of my readings, on everything that I do, tarot, Ouija, all of it. It's very incredible. So, okay, this is all about the tarot. So, okay, Devin in French contains the 4 letters of the word du, plus the letter N, which corresponds, in its form, to the Hebrew letter Aleph, which is kind of it looks like an N, a little bit, and which expresses Cabalistically and hieroglyphically the Great Arcanum, whose symbol in the tarot is the figure of the magician. So, dang it. Do you guys remember in one of my sessions where I was speaking with Baphomet, and it told me to find all of its secrets, all of everything about it within the major arcana. Well, more proof. It's a little synchronistically creepy. A good creepy. Very good creepy. So, okay, so he who understands perfectly absolute numerical value of Aleph multiplied by N, with the grammatical force of the final N in the words, which expresses science, art, or pseudoscience, or something like that, and then adds the 5 letters of the word Devin in such a manner as to center 5 into 4 and 2 into 1. So that person, in translating the number, he finds into primordial Hebrew letters. So we'll write the occult name of the Great Arcanum, and will possess a word of which the Holy Tetragrammaton itself is but an image. So, to be Devin, according to the force of this word, it is thus to be divine and something even more mysterious than that as well. So, divination is literally, it does not mean what it's supposed to mean today in occult philosophy. It doesn't mean to see into the future. So, alright, so the two signs of human divinity, or divine humanity, are prophecies and miracles. So to be a prophet is just to see ahead of time. And a lot of us are. A lot of us do see ahead of time. So the prophet is able to see the effects that exist in the causes. So it is to read the astral light. To make a miracle is to act upon the universal agent and submit it to our will. So that would be our magic. Literally our magic. And yes, resurrectionism is very real. Which I did not think of. So, okay, some will ask the author of this book if he is a prophet. The curious may search out and read all that Eliphas Levi has written previous to certain events which were then accomplished in this world. So this is very cool. So, as to what I could have said and done if I recounted them, and if they were truly miraculous, would you believe me based on my words alone? So there we go. So incidentally, one of the essential conditions for divination is to never be forced into it, and to never submit to temptation. That is to say, to a test. So, masters of the science never yielded to anyone's curiosity. So when you divine, when you do divination, when you pull the cards, when you're doing your Ouija work, and someone wants to test you and say, hey, they don't believe what your cards say. You do not and should never have to prove yourself to any of them. Never. So the Sibyl burnt her books when Tarquinius refused to value them as their true worth. The great master remained silent when they asked him for the signs of his divine mission. Agrippa died of misery rather than obey those who demanded a horoscope of him. So, that tells us a lot about divination. So, to give proofs of the science to those who doubt about the science itself is to initiate the unworthy. It is to profane the gold and of the sanctuary. It's to merit the excommunication of the sages and the death of the revealers. So the essence of divination, that is to say, the great magical arcanum, is represented in all the symbols of the science and is closely tied to the unique and primordial doctrine of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great born, also Thoth. So, we see this in the book, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Hermes, same. So we see that in just about every kind of, every Hermetic book, all the doctrine, all of it. It's quite amazing. So, Hermes, the primordial doctrine of Hermes. So, in philosophy, the doctrine, it provides absolute certitude. In religion, the universal secret of faith. In physics, the composition, the decomposition, the recomposition, the realization, and the adaptation of the philosophical mercury, called Azoth by the alchemists. So, in dynamics, it multiplies our strengths by those of the perpetual motion. So, it is at once mystical, metaphysical, and material, with correspondences in effect across the three worlds. So, It obtains the mercy of God, the truth of science, and the gold of wealth, because metaphysical... Oh, what the hell is that word? Metallurgical transmutation is both an allegory and a reality. All adepts of true science well know. So, this is very important, though. This is very important to our work, to all of this. Okay, that keeps going out. That's odd. So, just to go on a little further. So, yes, we can truly and materially make gold with the stone of the sages, which is an amalgam of salt, sulfur, and mercury combined 3 times in azoth by a triple sublimation and a triple fixation. So yes, the operation is often easy and can be done in one day, in one instant. Often other times it takes several months and years. But to succeed at the great work, one must be divinous, or devin, in the Kabbalistic sense of the word, and it is indispensable to have renounced for one's own interest. So the advantages of the wealth of which one will become the dispenser. Raymond Lully enriched sovereigns seated Europe with his funds, and remained poor. Nicholas Flamel, who is certainly dead, or whatever they say about his legend, only found that the great work through asceticism and a complete detachment from wealth. So he was initiated through the intelligence which he suddenly acquired from the book of something. The Hebrew title is Refiner's Fire. So, written by the Hebrew Kabbalist Abraham, Kabbalist, perhaps the same one who wrote the Sefer Yetzirah. Yet this intelligence was, for Flamel, a merited intuition, or rather rendered possible by the personal preparations of an adept. So, this gets good. This gets really good about divination. It's all about numbers. Numbers and letters. All about numbers and letters within divination. So that's why I wanted you guys, the two of you, to separate your major arcana from the rest of the deck, the lesser. So it is within the major arcana that we can interpret, and we can see through previous patterns what's going to happen within 5 years from now. Exactly what's going to happen through previous patterns of ourselves. So, alright. So this gets even better. So, divination is thus an initiation. It is thus an intuition. And the key to that intuition is the universal and magical doctrine of analogies. So, it is through these analogies that the mage interprets dreams, as we can see in the Bible, that the patriarch Joseph did long ago in Egypt. Because analogies in the reflections of the astral light are rigorous as the nuisances of color in the solar light can be calculated and explained with great exactitude. So it is only necessary to know the degree of intelligence of the dreamer, and we can reveal to him everything through his own dreams, to the point of throwing him into a profound wonder. So, it's pretty interesting stuff. It's very interesting stuff. Hypnotism, precognition, and second sight are all of one disposition, either accidental or habitual. So, mine was habitual. I practiced, studied, since I've been like 7 to 8 years old. So it takes a very long time to actually come to the smallest revelations in our work. It really does. Some people are just blessed to come into it on their own, like instantaneously. So, dreamed in a voluntary sleep or while awake. That is to say, they perceive the analogical reflections of the astral light. So, at which point we will provide the means to look for regularly produce and direct magnetic phenomena. So, as to divinatory instruments, they are simply means of communication between the seer and the consultant. So, and often serve only to fix the two wills upon the same sign. Vague figures, complicated and mobile, help to assemble the reflections of the astral fluid. And it is thus that we see the dregs of a coffee cup, in clouds, in the whites of an egg, etc. So basically all of the egg cleansing, all of that, you are literally transferring energy. So it's a transference of energy. When you pass that egg down your body, you are imprinting on that egg, inside that egg. Because what is an egg? What is an egg? It should have been a chicken. So, life. It's life. Alright. So, where did I go? So, the fateful forms, which exist only in the translucent. So, that is why we need smoke to divine, which is very, very easy. So, which is the imagination of the operators. So, vision in water operates through glare and the fatigue of the optic nerve. This is all scientific, which I love, which yields its functions to the translucent and produces an illusion of the brain, which then takes reflection of the astral light for real images. So also nervous people, always have been. It sucks. So nervous people, having weak eyesight and vivid imaginations, are most suited to this type of divination, which has the most success when it is performed by children. So your kids can divine for you. They can do the egg for you. They can pull a card for you because they're not, they don't have the social sunburn of this is fake or this is just all hocus pocus, which is really amazing. So, okay, but not to be confused, but do not be confused regarding the function we attribute to the imagination in the divinatory arts. So, we see through the imagination, without a doubt, and that is the natural aspect of the miracle. But we see true things, and it is that which makes for the marvelous in this natural work. It says here that the author of this book has experimented with all kinds of divination and obtained results which were always proportional to the exactitude of his scientific operations and good faith of his consultants. Alright, now here comes the tarot. This is pretty interesting stuff. So the tarot, that miraculous book, the inspiration for all sacred books of the ancient peoples, is because of the analogical precision of its figures and its numbers, the most perfect instrument for divination, which can be used with complete confidence. In fact, the oracles of this book are always righteously true, at least in one sense. And while it predicts nothing, it always reveals hidden things and provides consultants with the wisest of advice. Crazy, isn't it? I think that is so crazy. So, a lot of people are, my whole thing doesn't fall over. a lot of people are actually reading their names backwards from right or left to right, which is how you would in Hebrew. So this person, Eliot, who was a wig maker before becoming the Kabbalist of the previous century, after having spent 30 years meditating upon the tarot. So, Eliot, who Kabbalistically called himself Atelia, by reading his name as one reads Hebrew. That is right to left, rather than left to right, so right to left. So yeah, we would read it right to left. Pretty interesting how we can do stuff with our own names. So, where did I go? So he read his name backwards, and he, as Hebrews do, and was very close to finding all that was hidden in that strange book. So the tarot is literally a book of nature, a book of our paths. So, okay, but he only managed to displace the keys of the tarot because he did not understand them, and he invented the order and the character of the figures without completely destroying the analogies, because they are so sympathetic and correspond so well to one another. The writings of Aterila, however you say that name backwards, Atelia, which have become relatively rare, are obscure, tiring, and of a truly barbarous style. So not all of his works were published, and the manuscripts of his father, and the manuscripts of this father of modern card readers are still in hands of Persian librarian, who was most willing to show them to Levi. So, we can see that in them, which is most remarkable, is the unrelenting work and incontestable good faith of the author, who all his life sensed the grandeur of the occult sciences, and who died at the door of the sanctuary without ever having penetrated beyond the veil. So, he had little respect for Agrippa, and made much of Jean Barbelot, and knew nothing of the philosophy of Paracelsus. So, but he had a well-practiced intuition, a relentless will, and more imagination than good judgment. So, it was too little to make it was too little to make him a mage, but it was more than enough to make him a very skillful, vulgar seer. So, and in consequence, very credible. So also, Atelia had a faddish success, which a wiser magician might have been wrong to not claim for himself. So, but he certainly never made that claim. So at the very end of this, it says, in saying, at the end of our ritual, the last word about the tarot, we will indicate the complete manner of reading it, in consequence of consulting it, not only regarding the probabilities of destiny, but also, and most of all, regards the problems of philosophy and religion, of which the tarot always provides a certain answer of the most admirable precision, if we explain it in the hierarchical order of the analogy of the three worlds, with the three colors, and the four nuisances, which compose the sacred geometry, the sacred serpentry. All of this is part of the positive practice of magic, and can only be summarily indicated, and only established in principle in this first part, which contains only the doctrine of high magic and the philosophical and religious key to the high sciences, understood, or rather ignored, under the name of occult science. So, pretty interesting stuff. That is divination. That is divination. So, I had a lot more to tell you guys. I just can't remember now. So yes, what I did was I took my cards and I used the universe, or I used the cosmic tarot. These relate to almost, the symbolism within these has so much sacred geometry. It relates to so many different paths, faiths, religions, that you can actually, you can apply anything to these. So that is why I told you guys, you two, Catherine and Sean, to actually separate your major from your minor and stick with the major cards right now. I don't know if the Baphomet Tarot has a major arcana. It should. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely should have your major and your minor. So if you can separate the major from the minor, or if it's working great for you as it is, then don't stop. So it is within the major that we find all the keys that we need to get, to plug ourselves in, to actually, get real answers, true advice, truth, anything. So how amazing is that? Just with cards. I never thought that they would be this accurate. And they are. They have been so freaking accurate for me. It is crazy. So, meditation upon the tarot. So you can start with just putting them all in order. 1 through, 22? Something like that. And then meditate upon each one, what they mean. The meaning of the sun, the emperor, temperance, judgment, justice, the tower, all of it, the Hierophant, the Hanged Man, the Magician, the World, the Empress, the Fool, yes, the Fool, and so on, the Hermit, all of it, Strength. So there are evidently keys in each single card that are archetypal, so it applies to everything and everyone in this universe. So just with one card, we can tell a whole entire story through analogies. Just with one card. It's amazing. It truly is. This is what I've been doing, so it might be of help to anybody, not just the current Ouija Bootcamp students. So, daily what I've been doing is sitting down with the Baphomet. I would like some incense for it, a candle, and then I will just shuffle my cards, and I will think to myself, okay, do you have any wisdom that you wish to share with me today? And it has been the most incredible information I have ever received from those cards. So, in finding Baphomet, the god, goddess, everything behind, the god of gods, the first, the all, it's just been incredibly amazing. Everything, it just comes together so easily and effortlessly almost. Well, not effortlessly, because there's a lot of effort that you put into your workings, as you guys know. So, and that is kind of how I have turned, I've turned Baphomet's book into kind of, the Book of Baphomet. So, like, for instance, I keep getting, all kinds of just different readings. So, what I do is I take my journal out, well, Baphomet's journal. I write at the top, Tarot Wisdom from Baphomet, the date and the time. And it literally tells a story. So if I read back from the first day that I started with this particular application of the cards, if I go all the way back, it actually tells me my story that has led me all the way up to today. So, yesterday's Tarot Wisdom from Baphomet. So it was the Strength card, and it says, the trident and the white stripes on the lion's head indicates devotion to Shiva. A Hindu god, Shiva personifies destruction and reproduction, part of the trinity of Brahma, the creator. So, but I would think Baphomet the creator and Vishnu the preserver. Baphomet the creator. The object commonly worshipped as embodying Shiva is the lingam, which represents Shiva's energy as well as his ultimate formlessness. Who does that sound like? Baphomet. So, the lingam is the shaft of light, which would be the caduceus within Baphomet, a natural object sacred to deity. So I kind of sense that Baphomet actually may have a lingam, a natural object, a stone, something, representing both female and male. That's a possibility, a very good possibility. So, phallic has got to be phallus, phallic and vaginal, of course. So, also strength is the energy that is available without discrimination or judgment. So, to creative as well as annihilating forces. So, Shiva embraces the energy of the body, the coiled serpent at the base of the spine, called Kundalini. So, without proper education, this energy can become out of control to the student. So, that's all I will actually go into there. Oh. I didn't know I wrote this last night. But yes, when you do that, you are literally getting a look into how far you've actually come through all of your workings and all of your, so if you're going through spirit initiations, it tells of that. So now I am working with body energy. So the body energy, just kind of realigning my chakras. The Kundalini, I really hope doesn't start again. And that was not fun. So yes, oh, my darling Catherine, I know you have the regular deck with just the regular Major Arcanum. So if you guys want, we can try this. You guys can try this with me. So just separate all your cards, the major from the minor, and focus on using these daily. And then just kind of think. Focus on if there's anything that you need to know, any kind of wisdom that you need to be shown by your chosen deity for the day. Write it down. Write the definition down, and then write exactly what you feel. So this will give you a lot of insight. And then when you do it for about a week, go back and read your story. Put them all together, all the cards, and see what happens. See what kind of story that you can create with those. It's very interesting. So yesterday, wow, we went over a lot. So yesterday we went over the relaxation ritual. Did I blog that for you guys? Yes, I did. The relaxation ritual. We went over the heart breath meditation. We went over creating our atmosphere for our Ouija session. So, alright, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. This is not, it's not too hard. So it is ceremonial magic. It is a part of ceremonial magic. It's not hard. It is not hard at all. So, let me find. So, literally the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. So, 1. I better start from the beginning with you guys. I'm sorry. So, where'd I go? Okay, we're going to start with the Cabalistic cross, which is Ta, Malkut, Vigmura, and Vigdula. That's the Cabalistic cross. So, alright, preliminaries. Start by going to an area where you will do the ritual. So if you have an altar, as described in this book, put it in the exact center of your area. So to be totally complete, you may wish to do a ritual cleansing bath before the ritual. This type of bath is not intended to merely take the dirt off your skin, rather cleanse negativity and the cares of the day from your spirit. First take a shower, or to get the dirt off, then run a warm bath. Be sure to put in some bath salts, or Epsom salts with some nicely scented oil or perfume added. Then get in and just soak for a few minutes. And just let the water pull out the negativity from you. So, and then if you want, you can put on any kind of magical clothes that you would associate with this ritual. So, I always associate it with my ritual robe. So, I put my ritual robe on for it. So, this is step 1, the Cabalistic cross. So, for step 1, you are going to visualize yourself getting larger and larger, taller and taller, until you tower above the room that you are in. So, continue this growing visualization until the city you live in is small and beneath your feet. So, seeing the content of the continent as tiny compared to your majestic body. Now, even the earth is small beneath your feet. However, no matter how small the earth is, it is still firm and solid beneath your feet, anchoring you to the ground, so you will not float away. So, next, you're going to visualize yourself growing so large that the planets of our solar system are like tiny toy rubber balls spinning near your feet. Soon they are too small to see as even the Milky Way galaxy becomes a small dot of light at your feet. So now you are going to do it. Visualize a dot of light coming from somewhere far above your head. So know that this is only a tiny bit of light from the source. So if you saw the full brightness of this light, you would immediately be blinded and quite possibly go insane. So that would be taking in too much astral light, which would be astral intoxication. So this tiny bit of the endless, limitless light forms a brilliant white sphere of pulsating lines just above your head. So it is 9 inches in diameter and about the size of a dinner plate. Literally. It is brighter than 10,000 suns, but still only a tiny portion of the source of this divine spiritual white light. So you're going to point to that sphere above your head with your dagger or finger and bring it down by pointing to your forehead just above and beneath the eyebrows. So next you're going to visualize this brilliance filling your head with the divine light. So while you're pointing to your forehead, you're going to vibrate Ata. So you need to put emphasis on actually vibrating these words. So really vibrate it. So you're going to see that light coming down. You're going to draw it down with your finger and you're going to say Ata. And I can't vibrate right now. Not that good. So it's Ata. And then, now, step 2. You're going to bring down the point of your finger firmly down your body until you are pointing to the ground. Your hand your hand should just be covering your groin like this. And you point down. Where'd it go? So as you do this, visualize the light in your head coming down with your knife or with your finger, and down through your body and beyond your feet, down to eternity. And then you're going to vibrate Malkut. Malkut. So Ata, bring that white light down, point, Malkut. You're going to vibrate these words long. So step 3, you're going to bring your finger up to your right shoulder from that. And as you do this, visualize the beam of white light running down the center of your body from a beam from the heart area out to your right, past your finger and past your right shoulder. So see this beam of light extended to the end of the universe and beyond. Focus on this beam and vibrate Vigbura. So Vigbura. I can't vibrate that well. And you can tap, because each of these words is associated with a part of the body. So Ata, you can tap all the way down. Malkut, you will feel it in your body. Vigbura. And now, step 4, you're going to move your left finger to your left shoulder, or your right finger to your left shoulder. And as you do this, you are going to see that beam of light going across, extending through infinite space to your left. So as you focus on this beam of light, vibrate Vigdula. So Vigdula. Ata, Malkut, Vigbura, Vigdula. So, step 5. Clasp your hands at your chest as if praying. So, the point, if you're using your dagger, your point should be up, not facing away from you, nor to the side or down. Now visualize within your chest, at the point covered by your folded hands, a brilliant golden glow. And then you're going to visualize, or you are going to vibrate Li Olam Amen. So, almost like this. Or like this, or you can do this. Leolam Amen, Leolam Amen, Leolam Amen. So Ata, Malkut, Vigbura, Vigdula, Leolam Amen. So that's the first part of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. So the meaning of the first part of the lesser banishing ritual is as follows. So Ata means thine in Hebrew. So the visualization given along with the proper pointing of the dagger or finger is for the purpose of indicating that you are linking your higher self with the divine. Now, Malkut means kingdom. So, and according to the Kabbalah, refers to the earth. That is why you should be pointing down. Now, Vigbura means and the power. Vigdula means and the glory. Leolam Amen. Leolam means forever, and Amen means, of course, Amen. But you'll learn the secret meaning of the word Amen in a later lesson. Basically as it is, creation, you're creating. So literally, that is the corresponding, all of it. It is almost like Catholic cross, almost, not quite. So, all right. So thus, the first part of this ritual translates as, "For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen." So, it should sound familiar because it is part of the Lord's Prayer. So, although this was added to the original text of the prayer, as it appears in the Gospels, it does seem to prove that at least some of the early Christians knew the secrets of Kabbalah. So, several of the words used here refer directly to the symbol or primary import in Kabbalah, the tree of life. So that is within us. This is the upper tree of life. So there's a lot of different variations of this ritual. So I give it in my books. I think I've blogged, the other variations of that. There's a Luciferian one. There are tons of variations of this one. I find for myself that this one works the best for me out of all of them. So the Golden Dawn in step 2 above pointed to the chest. Thelemites, those who follow the teachings of Aleister Crowley, point to the chest between steps 1 and step 2 above and vibrate the name Aiwass. At the point, Aiwass, Crowley believed, was the name of his holy guardian angel and was an extraterrestrial intelligence. Alexander's, founder of the Alexandrian system of Wicca, at step 1 above vibrates Kether. So that is basically in Egypt. It's Egyptian. So, and in steps 2 points to the stomach instead of Amen. Some people prefer or Agum, or even a combination such as Amen. So, as the final note to this section, if you have not figured it out as of yet, what you have done is to visualize yourself as the center of the universe, with only divine light coming through you. So you may wish to remain in this position for a few minutes to feel the energy and really get to know this energy. So that is how the first part of the Lust Vanishing Ritual of the Pentagram is done. So you guys can practice that too, along with the major arcana cards. I will blog this for you guys, definitely. It's going to be good. It's going to be good stuff. So what this does, though, literally is it just refreshes. It refreshes everything. It connects you with Source, with God, Goddess, Spirit. And it connects you with yourself. And you are literally stepping outside. When you do the entire ritual in its entirety, you are literally stepping outside of yourself into a different, literally a different reality. You are bringing your reality here. Wow. Thank you, guys. Oh, the moon has moved into Cancer. Wonderful. So, now we will stop here and we will go on to part 2, the formulation of the pentagrams, in the next lesson. Let me find something to, I don't know. There we go. Mouse Haunted House Scream Park. So we will stop there, and I will blog that for you guys. So yes, very good information, amazing information. So yes, there's just so much that I wanted to share with you guys, just about all of this. It has just been amazing. It has been amazing. And just realizing, working with macrame, this energy, it's amazing. I don't have words. Literally trying to understand one of the oldest, among the oldest of grimoires. It's a little tricky, but not bad at all. So it's very easy for me, because of the way Eliphas Levi writes. Kind of similar to my writing, only it is a little bit flowery, but yet he does talk about witches and how they were tortured and all this stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And really going back and looking through this. So Levi, he lived way before Wicca. Wicca came along way before Wicca. So it's really neat to see how different faiths and religions have taken bits and pieces from Kabbalah, ceremonial magic, all of this, especially Wicca. Wicca is the big one, and so is Christianity, the other big one. So it is literally just amazing. So yes, I want you guys to work on, if you want, the Major Arcana Tarot. Just contemplate on the energy of the day and really get to know the major. And then you can try the beginning of the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, which is the Cabalistic Cross. So I think it really gets you feeling good. It gets you feeling good, it gets you motivated, it gets you going. So it's just something that I really like. And it's just been amazing. An amazing ride. So, there's so much that I wanted to show you guys, to tell you guys. So, it's amazing. It seriously is amazing. So, the Universal Medicine, which is also amazing. The Philosopher's Stone. Alright, the Philosopher's Stone I really, really like. I love the meaning behind it, and it makes sense. So, the Stone of the Philosophers. This makes perfect sense. And this goes back to Numite. So, it has gold flecks in it. So, remember that. So the ancients adored the sun in the form of a black stone, which they called Elagabalus or Heliogabalus. So that's Latin for calling, Sol for sun, and Arum for gold, and a god of ancient Syria, which was represented by a conical stone. So the conical, which is like the witch's hat. So, what is the significance of this stone, and how could it be the symbol of the most brilliant of stars? So, the disciples of Hermes, before promising to their adepts the elixir of long life, or powder of protection, recommended that they search for the Philosopher's Stone. So, but what is it, and why? So, this stone, says the Masters of Alchemy, is the true salt of the philosopher, which is 1/3 of the composition of Azoth. So, and Azoth is, we know, the name of the hermetical agent and the true philosopher's agent. The alchemists also represent their salt in the form of a cubical stone. So, as we can observe in the 12 keys of Basilus Valentinus, or in the allegories of Trevisan, something like that. So, okay, so what is this then? What is in truth is this stone? So, it is the foundation of absolute philosophy. It is supreme and immovable reason. So the Philosopher's Stone is thus necessary before all else. But how do you find it? Hermes teaches us with his emerald tablets, Thoth, that one must separate subtle from the fixed with great care and attention. Thus we must free our certitudes from our beliefs and render distinctive the respective domains of science and faith. We must understand that we do not know the things which we believe in, and that we no longer believe in the things which we are able to know, and that is the essence of matters of faith, that they are unknown and indefinite. So, in other words, the Philosopher's Stone is true certitude, which human prudence ensures through conscientious research and modest doubt, while religious enthusiasm attributes it to faith. So, that is the Philosopher's Stone. You can turn different metals into gold, but that's not the actual, you guys know that that's not the actual truth of what it actually is. It's alchemical. It's inside of you transforming. You transform your inner demons into daemons, into gold. That is the true essence of the Philosopher's Stone. So, Okay, so the meaning of the two columns of Solomon's Gate, one of which is called Jashin, and the other, Boaz, one of which is white and the other black. They are distinct and separate. They are even contrary in appearance. But if blind force wishes to unite them by bringing them together, the temple vault will collapse, because when separated they have equal strength. While reunited, they are two forces which mutually destroy each other. Wonderful. It is for the same reason that the spiritual power weakens when it attempts to usurp temporal power, and that temporal power perishes a victim to its encroachments into spiritual power. So, Gregory VII lost the papacy, and the schismatic king lost and will lose the monarchy. Human balance requires 2 feet. The worlds revolve with 2 forces. Creation requires 2 sexes. This is the meaning of Solomon's Arcanum, symbolized by the 2 temple columns, Jashin and Boaz. So, it's just very interesting stuff, very interesting stuff. So this is why the ancient mages took the stone for the sign of the sun itself. And it is for this reason also that the alchemists of the Middle Ages pointed to the Philosopher's Stone as the primary means of making philosophical gold. That is to say, transforming all the vital forces symbolized by the 6 metals into the sun, which is to say, in truth and light, the first and indispensable operation of the great work, which brings one to secondary adaptations, and which allows the creators of spiritual and living gold through the analogies of nature. So, to find the natural and raw gold, it is always the possessors of true salt to find the true philosophical mercury and sulfur. So, the masters say to find the stone, and the absolute is that which admits to no error. It is the fixed in the volatile. It is the rule of imagination. It is the necessity of being itself. It is the immutable law of reason and truth. The absolute is what it is. So, and then it's very strange too. It just keeps going more and more and deeper into the Philosopher's Stone. So, for example, we can say that the Philosopher's Stone is squared in all senses, like the celestial Jerusalem of St. John, and written upon one of its sides is the name of Solomon. So there's just a different way to spell Solomon in Hebrew. And on the other side of that, we have God. And on another of its side is written Adam, the other Heva or Hiva, and that of Azot, and INRI on the 2 other sides. So, pretty interesting. So actually the Philosopher's Stone is the spirit that earth standing on cubes surrounded by a tongue of flames. He has a phallus for a caduceus, the sun and the moon, on his right and left breast. He is bearded, crowned, and holds a scepter in his hand. This is the Azoph of the sages, of his pedestal of salt and sulfur. We sometimes give this image the symbolic head of the goat of Mendes. It is the Baphomet of the Templars, the goat of the Sabbath, and the verb of the Gnostics. Strange images which were used as boogeymen for vulgar, having been used in their meditation by the sages. Innocent hieroglyphs of thought and faith, which were used as a pretext for the passions of persecution. How unhappy men were in their ignorance. and how they would despise themselves if they ever came to know it. Baphomet. So literally, Baphomet is everything, the all. So, alright guys, I'm done blabbing. I will blog all this for you guys. Also, Ouija sessions are $40 up until next Monday. So, a good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, good 7 days. So that is a flash sale, or something like that. So, Sean and Catherine, yeah, I want you guys to, if you want, you don't have to do this, separate your deck, the major from the minor, the cards, and start doing that daily. See what happens, what you can kind of get through that. I will blog this for you. Try first starting with the Cabalistic cross of the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. So, and then just kind of take into consideration everything that we have talked about and learned about the Philosopher's Stone and divination as well. So, it is truly fascinating. So, alright, I could go on for hours and I'm not going to. I've done a good hour. So, alright guys, I love you all very much, and I hope you guys have a good day, and I will talk to you soon. So, I love you all with all of my heart, all the way from Venus, all the way back down. So, I will see you all tomorrow, and thank you guys for watching, and yes, hopefully you find some of this useful. If not, just discard